Hi Ramones fans, this is my video review of my Johnny Ramone guitar by Hallmark. Hope you can get some useful information out of this review. So we'll take it from the very top. Here's the headstock. These are vintage tuners with a little slot on them. One way to tune up is to put the string into the little hole and then crank it. If you want to do it the D'Addario way, which is the way I do it, it's a little bit harder because the string can pop out of the slot. Okay, let's go to the back, see what we've got here. Okay, vintage tuners. Offhand, it looks like you can have pop-in replacements by Grover that will fit the screw locations. I haven't tried it exactly, but it looks like it. When you get the guitar brand new, it comes with a little white sticker here that says Johnny Ramone license something, or rather it's hard to remove it all because you get a sticky residue left over. You have to use isopropyl alcohol 99% to get it off. Also, it might come with Bob's, the owner, Bob's signature. He puts his signature right here. If you don't want it there, you can always take it off using a Q-tip and isopropyl alcohol 99%. That's what I did. It's a really nice touch, very nice personal touch of his, but I prefer a nice clean look on the back. Okay, maple neck, really nice neck. Don't really have any significant complaints about it. Another review on the internet said that the dots on the side of the fingerboard are a little small. Well, yeah, they're a little bit small. I can kind of see them okay. If I'm in a room and it's kind of dim, I can see it okay, but everyone has a different opinion about that. Okay, going to the front, these frets, it says vintage frets on the website, and I was concerned when I bought it that that would mean that the frets are too short. In other words, the distance off the fingerboard. But fortunately, they are what I would call medium height, so about the same height as the medium jumbo frets on my Les Paul. So you don't have to worry about that, I don't think. Where it is smaller is the width of each fret. It is not as wide as what you see on regular production guitars that you see at your guitar store. That doesn't really make a difference in terms of fretting up. It's a nice clean look. Actually, I kind of like it. From the factory, I noticed a little bit of residue on the edges of each fret, maybe some kind of cleaning material. Not a big deal though. Okay, let's go up here. And here is the string guide and the 0 fret. There's plenty of space within each slot, so you can have really thick strings or really thin strings. And the 0 fret here is just basically a bigger fret. It's bigger than all the other frets. Over time, I've had this guitar now for a number of months. Whenever I take strings off, of course you take them off one at a time and put new ones on. I see a little dent, tiny little dent there. Of course, over time you're going to get a tiny little bit of wear, but no big deal. The nice thing about a 0 fret, if you ever need to have it redone, it's just one fret. You don't have to worry about the luthier screwing up and making the slots on a conventional nut too deep or too high. Okay, so that's the neck. It is a bolt-on neck, 4 bolts on the very back. Okay, going up to the top here. Okay, it comes with regular buttons for the strap. I prefer the security of a locking button. Now, one thing you need to know, the stock button, the screw is the same thickness or width as a Gibson. And if you get a Schaller or Schaller, depending on how you pronounce it, I'll call it Schaller, the screw is smaller than a Gibson. In other words, it's not as wide. And a lot of people, they put it on their guitar, they think it's secure. It might be, but you can't really ignore the laws of physics, which says that if you put a small screw into a bigger hole, well, it's not going to be as secure. So what I did was I drilled out the shawl button so that the hole's big enough to accommodate the stock screw, and then I used a Dremel motor tool to reduce the diameter of the head of the screw, so then it fits in nicely right there. And the shawl is really nice. You just put it on like this, click it, and it's good to go. Okay, let's go talk about the body. First of all, the paint, based on the residue of the paint on the body where the neck screws on top, it looks like it's first painted with white and then you have a clear coat on top of that, rather than a one-time application of gloss white paint where the gloss is built in. It looks like it's done separately. The selector switch here, up is neck, middle is combine, and this way is the bridge pickup. Good quality, no clicking sounds in the output when you switch from neck to bridge and vice versa. On my Les Paul I hear clicking in the output, which I don't like. Okay, the pickups here, 2 pickups. I find for good output with a good sustain, the bridge pickup has to be really close to the strings, just like maybe 2 millimeters or so away from the strings. Doesn't affect playability. And then I have to have the pickup at the neck much further away to have a balance in the volume when switching between the 2 pickups. The volume is right here. Tone is right here. Nice smooth feel to it, no problems, no scratchiness in the output. And here's the output jack. It feels quite good. I don't feel any, like when the jack rotates, it doesn't cause any noise in the output either. The pickguard, standard pickguard, this is what the pickups screw into, and because it's not solid, it's not like metal or anything, I'm just wondering, one might wonder if you crank your amp up to 10, is the vibration going to set off a little feedback in here. The reviews that I've seen posted on the internet, they don't say anything about that. I suppose it might be all right because I believe Stratocasters are set up the same way. The pickups are screwed into the pickguard. Okay, the next thing is we'll talk about the bridge. A bridge, it has rollers on them on the very tip, so each string contacts a roller, and you adjust it on the screws on the bottom here. When you turn the screws on the bottom with a screwdriver, it does make these nuts on the top rotate. That is a normal function. And then, of course, here are the adjustments for the height of the bridge on each side. Now, one good thing that I would like to tell you, if you screw the bridge all the way down into the body, the strings more or less basically touch the fingerboard, which is excellent because some of you may want to have very low action, and you have no trouble here. I've seen expensive $3,000 guitars where if you crank the bridge all the way down to the body, you're still really high off the fretboard, maybe 2 millimeters or so, which is barely the specification for many guitars out of the factory. So if you want lower action, like 1.5 millimeters at the 12th fret or 1 millimeter at the 12th fret, you're not going to be able to do it. This one, as you can see here, my action at the 12th fret is where the 2 dots are. It's about 1 millimeter, about 1.1 millimeters on my low E string and 1 millimeter on the high E string. And if you look closely down here, you'll see I still have quite a lot of space to work with. It kind of looks like 2 or 3 millimeters here on each side. So bottom line is no trouble at all if you want to take your action really, really low. Of course, yeah, when you have your action down at 1 millimeter, you do get some string buzz. You can't get away from that. But when you're playing distorted, you're not going to really notice it. You'll still get good sustain. On my guitar, even though I'm at about 1 millimeter, so I get a little bit of acoustic string buzz. The sustain's still pretty good. Okay, tailpiece, nothing remarkable. No, nothing remarkable about it. Just your standard tailpiece. Okay, let's go to the back here. Nothing much to talk about. Gloss finish again. And here are the 4 screws for the neck. Try not to use if you're, oh yes, okay, if you want to do something about the neck relief, the truss, well, there is a truss rod. The adjustment screw is down in here. So basically the procedure is you have to unscrew the neck, change the adjustment, the truss rod adjustment, and then put it all back together. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain. It would be nicer in a way if it was way up here, but it's not. In my case, with 838 strings, I get the correct amount of neck relief if the truss rod adjustment is basically loose. So what I do is I loosen it, and then I tighten it just enough so that the screw has enough tightness so that it's not going to fall out. So basically I have no truss rod tension, and I have the correct amount of neck relief. Okay, and just to let you know, on the inside you have standard wiring, nothing really remarkable about that. It's not super duper thick wiring. I suppose it's just the normal thickness of wiring. It's not what you'd call balanced wiring. I don't think any guitar really has that. You have the inner wire, and then you have the outer conductor wrapped around it to provide insulation. Okay, and then the capacitor is the capacitor for the tone control is a standard capacitor, a standard ceramic capacitor, which is the least expensive type of capacitor you can buy. Okay, measurements. Let me give you a few measurements. The length is 98 centimeters from top down to bottom. Width on the bottom here is 34 centimeters. At the 0 nut right here, it's 40 millimeters across. But center to center on the strings from low E center to high E center, it is 33 millimeters. At the bridge, low E to high E, center to center, is 50 millimeters, 50. Scale length is 24 3/4 inches. The weight of my guitar, I measured it with a fish scale. Weight of the guitar, excluding any guitar strap, is exactly 7 1/4 pounds, 7.25 pounds. Okay, one extra tip I can give you is the stand. Now you can get the stands where the neck just sits on top of a little frame right here. There might be a little device that when you put the guitar down, these little arms flip up to help secure it. That doesn't work at all because those little arms bang against these strings, so it doesn't work here. My recommendation is just use a freestanding floor stand. The nice thing is there's absolutely no tension at all on the neck. Just put it on the ground. Just put the bass on the ground here, and it just leans back right there. So there's absolutely no tension on the neck, and you don't have to worry about any tuning, very slight tuning change that might happen if you are hanging the guitar up by the neck. Okay, so now you're wondering, okay, this description of the guitar sounds pretty interesting and all that, but what don't you like about it? There must be some things that aren't quite perfect. What do you think of that? And the answer is yes, there are some things that aren't perfect. No guitar is perfect. Even a $3,000 guitar is not going to be perfect. So let me go through some of the things that I found that I wish could be improved. First of all, just looking at my list of things, I made a list of them. First thing here, the holes for these 4 screws, they're threaded in the body and in the neck. Now, when you have threads here and here, there's a chance that when you tighten the screws, the neck may not be so tight against the body. Ideally, you don't want any threads in the body, you just want the threads here. So, because of this, one thing you can do if you want, if you have this guitar, you can take a drill, preferably a drill press because it's more precise. You can drill out the holes in the body to remove the threads so that the screws freely go in and out. So therefore, the only threading occurs in the neck. So then for sure you're going to get a good tight connection when you crank up these screws. Okay, the bridge pin. If you look down here, you'll notice that the bushing, which goes into the body, is very close to the pick guard. So close that you might think, well, maybe what happens if it's touching? Then you won't be able to either screw down the pick guard, or maybe the pick guard was installed first and then the bushing was installed afterwards, and then the bushing can't go all the way down. And on my sample, at least, the latter is what happened. The bushing ended up being put in at a slight angle because the very edge on over here was being blocked by the pick guard. So when I got my guitar, the bridge was at an angle. It wasn't perfectly flat. It was an angle like this. And so what I had to do is I had to take the pick guard off, and I had to take this whole assembly off, and I had to raise the bushing, lift up the bushing. There are videos on the internet that will show you how to do this without damaging the guitar. And then I had to hammer it back down, and then I got it pretty straight. So now it's pretty level. It's pretty good now. And you can probably see here it looks pretty level now. So that was one thing that I didn't like. Also, one thing I didn't notice it when I first got it, but I don't think it may not have been there, but you can see there's a little bit of a stain on the volume knob. Could have been there's some moisture or some sweat that got on it and it started to tarnish it. It says nickel spun knobs, I think, on the website. So that's something I don't like. Let's see. Also, the bridge underneath, on this side, the bridge underneath wasn't quite 100% flat, so I was concerned that I wouldn't be getting as good solid contact with the bridge posts. So I had to take a file and just file a little bit just to make it flatter, so that it would lie, the underside of the bridge would lie flatter against this bridge pin. Capacitor. Okay, the capacitor inside here for the tone control, it is the least expensive type of capacitor you can buy, which is a ceramic disc capacitor. And what one could do is replace it. The absolute best capacitors ever made are basically polystyrene capacitors. I think that's how it's pronounced. But alas, they're generally not made anymore. You can buy polypropylenes, which are almost good. I believe orange drop capacitors, they're very well known for guitars. I think Les Paul now puts orange drop capacitors in some of their guitars. So that's an upgrade thing that you can work on. In terms of hum of this guitar, I find it's about the normal amount of hum you'd expect from a single coil. Like when I switch to single coil mode on my Les Paul, you get a little bit more hum. Same idea with this one, so I don't notice any more or any less humming. Inside the body, there is graphite paint, this gray paint for lining the body cavity, and the paint does work. I have a digital multimeter, and so I put one probe on this end, put another probe on this end, and I get 1 ohm of resistance. So this paint does indeed work. However, it's not electrically connected to ground. So one possible project might be to electrically connect it to ground. Another thing, there is a tiny bit of what looks like aluminum tape for insulation purposes on the underside of the pick guard for the switch, and as well as for the two knobs and the jack. But that's it. So one project could be to apply aluminum foil or copper tape, conductive tape, to make the underside of this pick guard insulated, and then you would electrically ground that as well. So then you create a nice cavity where everything is grounded. Okay, I'm going to give you a little point of view. Now on the guitar, I've got the guitar around my body here. Now as you see here, it is beveled here. Really, really nice, because if you're resting your arm here, like for example, if you're doing Johnny's alternate palm muting technique, you got to be able to reach down a little bit so that you can apply the correct amount of muting. So you see here, having it beveled makes it much more comfortable. A lot of you Johnny Ramone guitarists, you're going to be resting your hand in the waist, as it were, the waist area of the guitar body. It is rounded. It's not beveled over here. It is beveled over here, but here the edges are rounded, so it's not bad when you're holding your hands and you're putting your arm across the waist to strum. Okay, so here's the neck here, and you'll see the profile of neck. I really think it's really nice and cool. It's nice and straight. I like that a lot. The fretwork, very nice, completely smooth here. You're not going to feel any edges here on the fretwork. Very, very nice, completely smooth. It is a thinner neck than on, say, a Gibson. Johnny liked it because he could do bar chords very easily, very, very comfortable. The guitar weighs exactly, I think I already mentioned this, 7.25 pounds. I can see why Johnny liked that as well. At 7.25 pounds, I can wear this guitar for hours and I don't feel any discomfort with my Les Paul, because it is a heavier guitar. That gets uncomfortable after a while. Plus on my Les Paul, the edges are sharper, so it kind of bothers my forearm, my right forearm, after a while. Okay, now I'm going to do a test for you. One very important thing to me when I was deciding whether to buy this guitar, or if I buy any guitar, it cannot be neck heavy, because I don't want to have to waste any energy hanging on to the guitar. So, what I'm going to do a little test here for you, just to demonstrate whether this neck is heavy or not. So I've got the neck right up. I don't know if you can see it right now. The neck is at a 45-degree angle to the body. And now I'm just going to do the Cretan hop a little bit. It's going to bounce up and down. And this is a cotton strap, and so it is not as tacky, not as sticky as a strap that is made out of leather. And so just bouncing up and down. Bouncing up and down a lot. Just keeping it off my body so I don't damage the finish on the back. Okay, so I bounced up and down a lot, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's still above the vertical. It's not at 45 degrees. I'd say maybe around 20 degrees or so. So this just demonstrates that this guitar is not neck heavy at all. It comes to an equilibrium something around 20 degrees higher than parallel to the floor. Okay, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Hope this gives you some information about the Johnny Ramone guitar.